shots fired tonight in the room.
Wheelchair brakes tend to lock the wheels, but don't actually lock the chair to the ground.
And he seemed like a friendly enough guy. I mean, he was just kind of a normal guy, you know what I mean? Like, just average person. You wouldn't expect anything from him.
There are so many things wrong with this Cole Thomas with the no H Allen story that I don't really even know where to start. So I'm gonna do my best to be sequential with this thing. But at some point, I think we're gonna go off the rails and see where it takes us. From the bat, we kind of have to ask ourselves, how did Cole manage to pull off the Stephen Paddock maneuver, where you pull up completely armed to the teeth and the security doesn't catch you whatsoever? In fact, you apparently walk right by them. And according to the most recently released footage, you even have a Fed and his guard dog walk up to you, just let you go and don't check you. Either way, it seems like a huge security failure. Worth mentioning, this is not a left or right issue. At this point, everything is to divide us. And on that note, one would think that with the president, sorry, BB's not there, that with the president and some of the top players in mainstream media, they're all in the same room, you would expect some higher level security than this, but there's zero situational awareness whatsoever, it seems like, from the Secret Service. And following the idea of lax to non-existent security, there weren't even ID checks according to multiple people who were there. And you would think with how many times people have tried to take out Trump, allegedly, that there'd be more security. Since we're going sequentially to the best of our ability, I think we should start with the clip from Carolyn Levitt that came out, technically speaking, before the actual shooting and the event started. So here is, in all of its glory, Carolyn Levitt describing what she thinks is gonna happen this night.
He is ready to rumble. I will tell you, this speech tonight will be classic Donald J. Trump. It'll be funny, it'll be entertaining. There will be some shots fired tonight in the room. So everyone should tune in. It's going to be really great. I'm looking forward to hearing it.
I love it all. And you wrote most of it, you said.
I can't take credit. In true Donald Trump fashion, the man puts his pen to the paper himself. So it's a lot of his own work.
And I would be willing to let this slide if that were all it was, this one example, but there's also other weird media reports. There was a chick giving an interview on Fox after the event happened, and the interviewee goes on to discuss how Carolyn Levitt's husband, so the same person who just said this thing about shots being fired, that her husband had gone on to tell the person being interviewed that they need to be really careful and that there are a lot of dangerous people out there. Really, the clip is worth playing also again in all of its glory. So here it is now. Check this out.
I want to just quickly tell you, I was sitting next to Caroline Levitt, the press secretary's husband. He was one of our guests. He was seated right next to me. And, right as the dinner was starting, the national anthem happened. And then he kind of leaned over and said, I watched you on TV. You do a great job. You need to be very safe. And he was just very serious when he said that to me. And he kind of looked around the room and he said, there are some...
Sounds like we lost Aisha's phone there. And this happens, by the way, especially when you have so many people attempting to utilize the same cell service at the same time. I did want to add this. While we had a moment, I was just reading.
And these two things alone are really weird and the beginning of a pattern, but together they're even stranger. And it really is like the bow on this part of the story for me is that in this interview, Fox cuts her off mid-interview, claiming that the cell phone signal went out, and then the interview host goes on to talk about how this happens a lot when everyone's using the same cell tower. I'm not sure where that excuse would come from though, because there's not that many people at an event like this, not enough to overload a cell tower to the point of ending calls. So I would think what really happened and what most people think happened, and really just seems pretty obvious, is that she was cut off for saying something that they didn't want out there. So I'd be curious to know what else she has to say about this whole thing. Another thing that makes no sense to me, while we're still in this vein, there's a blank spot between when Cole gets his hotel room, just up until a few minutes before he Naruto runs past the security line and gets caught. Although we haven't been given any camera angles of him getting caught. Who really even knows? You can't actually tell who's running on that camera, and then if that's the same guy as the one on the ground. There's a lot of different pathways this could go, but considering how many cameras are in a hotel like this and how many witnesses there are with phones at an event like this, it is a little weird to me that no one else got that, as far as we're aware. In the room, it's pretty obvious that you're gonna have a whole array of people reacting differently to this. You've got people screaming, people chanting USA, whatever. You've also got the old dude who's become a meme for continuing to eat. And for the most part, that makes sense. But what's actually weird is the initial reaction of the Secret Service within the room. Instead of going for Trump first, they go for the vice president, and then they go for Trump. That is breaking a ton of precedent and doesn't make sense to really anybody. Why would you go for the vice president first? He is, technically speaking, the second most important person person in that room. And the most important one is sitting 5 feet away from him. And you would think that the Secret Service would be especially on the lookout for anything to happen at an event like this. And if something did, they'd be right there for Trump, because this is the third time, allegedly, that someone has tried to take Trump's life. Those videos and those cases are for a different time, possibly even next week. We want to get into Thomas Crooks, but you would think they would be on the highest alert to try and not look bad again, unless perhaps something else is going on there. However, what I have not seen pointed out yet that is very telling is that as everything starts going down in the Secret Service is beginning their approach to get the president and vice president, or really vice president and president, you see a guy sitting just a couple seats down from JD Vance immediately look around, lean back to look at JD and in the president's direction. And then he comes back in, pulls out his phone and starts filming. This is as the Secret Service is coming up. He might even time it a little bit better than them. And it's where we have this very famous angle now of the events that happened that night on stage. But it makes me wonder why this guy thought to look at Vance first and then whip out his phone. He's sitting right next to the two obvious targets in a room like that, the president and the vice president. So he seems very chill for a guy who could very well be in harm's way. And then on top of that, to pull out your phone and film the guy right point blank seems like just bizarre behavior. Just look at the way he does it. It seems like he was expecting it. I don't know that for sure. I'm not even quite sure who this guy is actually, but let me know what you think down below. By the time this happens though, it sort of seems like an overreaction, because the guy that ran through the security checkpoint is zip tied and nude on the ground, covered in one of those body heat blankets, which has led many people to wonder why they stripped him and why he's wearing that blanket. I'm gonna guess it's probably because they want to check if he had any other weapons on him, which he did. He had a shotgun, he had a pistol, and either 2 to 4 knives, if I'm not mistaken. So I kind of get that aspect, although I suppose it's a little weird that they left him stripped there on the floor, but I don't think that's the weirdest thing about this night. However, it has been pointed out quite a bit. Continuing, the US government is not known for its transparency, especially in a situation like this. So when I have Trump posting a video to the ironically named Truth Social within hours of the actual event and shooting, and it's of the shooter supposedly running past the security, I get a little suspicious. This video that Trump posted caused me a lot more questions than otherwise, because the footage is incredibly grainy. It's actually just ridiculously bad. I don't really know how to describe how bad it is. It looks somewhat like you would film this on a 1990s flip phone. It's like filming on a potato. That might be the understatement of the century though, because it really is that bad, which doesn't make sense because Trump obviously isn't using a flip phone from the 90s, but also why wouldn't you have just had the guys at the Secret Service desk screen grab that thing and then post it on the White House socials or send it to whoever does Trump's posting? That seems a bit strange. And it also would appear to be intentionally downgraded in quality, because you can see the monitor in the background and the rest of the room. And that too is super duper low res, making that video almost undefinable as to if there's anything strange in it. That said, as I was recording this, there was actually an upload of a higher res video, which causes even more questions. The one thing I really want to point out is that although higher res, it's only a tiny segment of Cole's time in this hotel. And so what we find that I think is most suspicious is, one, Cole manages to run past like 8 cops without any of them realizing while he's holding a gun. That's insane. And the only caveat to that is that one of the feds there realized what was going on and shot 4 rounds at Cole. I'm kind of wondering if the gun was loaded with blanks, because all 4 of those shots looks like they should have hit one of the other cops that was there. And it makes me wonder if this report of one of the cops having been shot point blank by Cole was actually a cop shooting another cop, and thankfully there's a bulletproof vest because that person would have then died to friendly fire. And there's also a little bit of a question there, because there was an interview where Trump was asked about this and they haven't really stated, and it seems a little suspicious that they haven't stated it was actually Cole that shot the person for sure. But actually, better than me talking about it, here's the clip from Trump.
Earlier, have you been informed if the Secret Service agent who was shot on Saturday, if that was from friendly fire or if it was from the suspect?
Well, they say it was not friendly fire.
So you're hearing that it's from...
Well, that's what I heard. I mean, I heard that. They said it wasn't friendly fire.
Okay,
it was actually reported. You read the reports because it was actually reported.
Yes, sir. I read through the DOJ memo.
Yeah, but, well, then why do you ask me the question?
I don't believe it said that the agent was struck by...
I'm just saying they said it wasn't friendly fire.
And he hasn't been charged
yet. It wasn't
yet.
us.
Okay, and he hasn't been charged yet with that. Of course, that could come. I want to follow up on...
Far be it from me to suggest. No, actually, I pay for everything in that room, and so do you. You shouldn't be firing rounds when the thing behind it is on your team. In fact, the rule is don't point it at something that you aren't willing to also destroy what's behind it. So what's going on here? Who trained these feds? This is disturbing. If these are the people that come to your house for criticizing Israel, then we're all screwed. And now here's where we're gonna kind of start skipping a little bit, because in the immediate aftermath of the shooting, Cole being apprehended and his identity getting out there, there is an unprecedented proliferation of AI slop content. I have never, in my years of making videos and years living in this age of AI degenerate crap, seen anything like this happen. And not enough people are talking about it, so we're gonna. If you were to look up Cole Allen Thomas and look up his professional career, you would find out that Cole has worked for just about every sports team in every sport at every level in every country. And what I mean is that almost simultaneously, across thousands of accounts, it seems, I have yet to find the end of it, there is an almost identical caption followed by an almost identical post. It's Cole on one side and Cole on the other. One photo I believe is a real photo of Cole, and the other one is basically the same photo I think in almost all of them, except for that's just an AI generated shirt on Cole that changes in each one, and on each one of those it's a different color and a different sports team and logo. I have no idea why, but when I tell you I've not found the end of it, I have not found the end of it. You scroll and there are more, and then you look at these accounts, most of them post sports related AI slop for that team, or they post basically AI. In any case though, until this Cole situation happened, none of them seem to have ever posted anything like this, and it all happened within minutes or hours of each other. It is wild to look at. And he's also got different jobs, from manager to coach to finance guy within all these companies and teams. But going beyond that, there are also pictures of him that people have put with Nancy Guthrie's. These AI accounts have put him with other like famous musicians and actors. I don't get it. Like I said, I've never seen anything like this for any other shooter, just this Cole thing. But I will tell you, it has made it much, and this is the only thing I can get at, it has made it much more difficult to find information about Cole that's real, because like that, the AI was everywhere about him, and it is very quickly burying information. That in mind makes me wonder if this is coordinated to some degree, because it wouldn't be cheap to manage all of these accounts. And then I don't even know how you go about posting everything simultaneously across these accounts and also generating the different images. I wonder if this is either a bunch of people or it sounds really weird to say, if in one singular AI instance is connected to all of these different accounts, if it's tweaking out and posting this. I literally have no idea. But like I said, check it out for yourself. I've been showing it on screen. It is truly bizarre. And I guess while we're here, we should talk about the other AI stuff going on with this is ramping up. You've got the AI enhanced videos of the shooter that were pushed as real with disappearing pizza box arms. You've got the guy eating whose fork gets absorbed into his face and then comes back out. And it's all pretty obvious AI enhanced video. But what gets me is how much push these get over the real videos. You're talking millions of view differences between the AI slop and the real stuff. So not odd maybe because of how dumb people are getting, frankly, but still weird to me. My favorite though of the AI weirdness has to be this photo, or really these two photos. One is of Cole and his alleged wife, and the other is of his alleged wife's passport. You might notice these are both AI photos, but not everyone believes that. And you can look at the passport and see Cole Allen Thomas's name with F for female next to it, despite this supposedly being his wife's passport. Irrespective of that though, people across the world apparently haven't realized that, and I'm kind of hoping these are bots too. Otherwise, things are gonna get crazy if people believe this stuff. But in any case, when you or I look at this photo, either you say it's AI or it's not. There is an entire group of people online now, and I've seen this in a bunch of different posts on a bunch of different references to his wife or where Cole Allen is from. There are race wars happening online between Indians and Pakistanis over this. And they think it's one, real, and that it was an Indian wife of the shooter. And the Pakistanis are using that to insult Indians, and the Indians are posting memes about being inbred and stuff like that. What? I don't know if these are real people or not, but it does contribute to this massive burying effect where information just piles up and up and up and up and up on top of the truth that's beneath there. Because Cole actually does have a woman, from what we can tell, but best of fortune to you trying to find her name, because it's buried beneath like 1,000 AI articles and posts on the internet. Likely my favorite of the rabbit holes in this overall Cole Allen topic is gonna be the Cole Allen time machine connection. Now, I don't actually think a time machine or time travel is responsible for what we're going to talk about, but it is a very interesting loop in, because time machines in a weird way, are involved in this. And this connection comes on Twitter on the account of Henry Martinez. On December 22nd, 2023, the account Henry Martinez on Twitter made a post that says simply Cole Allen. The account had been made in December, likely that same day, and has never been used again. That is the only post that was ever made and the only usage that can be linked to that account. That account had stayed completely dormant and there was no growth on it whatsoever. That was until the shooting happened and Cole Allen's name came out, and this tweet got a lot of push and people picked up and noticed, oh my goodness, someone predicted this shooting over 2 years ago in the shooter. That's so weird. And before anyone suggests in the comments, it is not possible to backdate a timestamp on a post on Twitter. And we have archives as early as basically the day or the day or two after this shooting to prove that this account has been like this the whole time. And understandably, since this tweet was noticed and since the shooting happened, it has gained over 56 million views, tens of thousands of likes, thousands of comments, over 17,000 or something like that, retweets. It has gone viral, and the account went from 0 to 27,000 followers in less than a week. Because everyone wants to know, who is this Henry Martinez behind the account? And unsurprisingly, it's not like he came back for the clout, because this was a notification of some kind. I don't want to say warning, because if you wanted to do that, he could have warned. Maybe it's just I knew all along. I don't know. In any case, this tweet has broken the internet, and rightfully so, because there's more than just that. If you start looking at the profile, you're gonna start noticing some things. First of all, the profile picture is Pepe the Frog, an iconic meme. Pepe is seen all over. There's thousands of variations of him in various styles. This one's actually one of the more common ones. It's Pepe Great Gatsby from the scene of the Great Gatsby movie where Gatsby is just now meeting Nick Carraway and lifts up his glass to him and he gives that look. It's described in the book. I actually went and looked in the edition I have. I went and read through that scene again and I didn't notice anything strange about it, but I'll include a picture of it here in case you do. At any rate, the context of the scene is that Gatsby and Nick Carraway are at a big party at Gatsby's house and Gatsby is wearing a tuxedo, hence why Pepe has a tuxedo on. If you were to think about that in a pretty meta way, well, Henry Martinez chose a photo of an iconic meme frog wearing a black tie outfit and holding a drink at a black tie event. And so maybe that's another layer in many people's minds to this whole idea that he's predicting something. I don't think that's an unfair take, especially when he just called the shooter's name 2+ years in advance. Likely the entire profile is signaling at something. Continuing with the profile though, we're gonna look at the banner now and we're gonna follow this banner to its natural conclusion. You can go there by reverse image searching or there are links across Twitter to the page. But if you take it and you follow one of these links, you're gonna end up at a website called timemachine.eu. Dun, dun, dun. Yes, the guy who predicted the shooter, or in many cases knew who the shooter was going to be years in advance, is using a background picture from a website called timemachine.eu. The lore is not lost on me whatsoever. And it is easily confirmed that this photo predates the most recent Trump attempt. So further strange right off the bat, but if you look into what timemachine.eu is, it's an organization that's dedicated to compiling and digitizing data from across eras, from the Renaissance, the Middle Ages, all the way up to today, and really even beyond that. All sorts of records, from tax records to building plans throughout all those years. And they're trying to build smart cities and better worlds with it. It's also one of those groups that really, if you read it enough, it kind of reads like Davos or the Bilderberg Group, especially when they start saying smart cities, which is basically just a control grid kind of city. So I don't really like that. And I also don't like that of all photos he could have chosen whoever's behind this account. It was one from a group like this who has these connections to and bears similarities to groups that are deeply involved in manipulating global situations. That's my read on that. I look forward to seeing what continues to develop there though. Continuing with the account, before I yap too much, we gotta look at Henry Martinez now specifically. Because Henry is actually a guy, and if you follow that name, it's gonna lead you to, oddly enough, the aerospace world, specifically to Lockheed Martin, where Henry Martinez works and/or worked. Henry worked on the Orion spacecraft program and won the George Herzl Award for Best Paper, and this one was named Testing Orion's Fairing Separation System. Maybe nothing, or maybe something, that's still up in the air. In any case though, that would be very odd if we are correct that he is missing and/or his location is currently unknown. I have not seen anything from him since this story started popping and I'm not sure anyone has. And there are a lot of rumors and some articles floating around about this guy having disappeared, but I don't want to jump on that too quickly. In any case, disappeared or not, it's very strange, especially in light of all the missing scientists that we've done 2 videos on. There's some in there who have also taken their own existence and or have been disappeared or literally just, according to the government, walked into the void and vanished. If this is another one of those, I don't even know what to say, because we also find out here that Cole Allen interned at NASA, which is heavily involved in the aerospace world, obviously, and very specifically, this Henry Martinez guy might have had overlap because he too would have been working with NASA while developing the Orion project and working in that area. So what he knew of Cole Allen, I have no idea, but it's very possible he knew something. But on that note, I want to bring something up. Cole Allen went to Caltech and then he got a master's at another California school in computer science. And in today's day and age, that doesn't mean as much as it once did. But in Cole's case, he seems pretty intelligent, and there are clips of him we're going to get to developing prototypes for new products. So I find it hard to believe with his credentials, the only job he could get was tutoring. Maybe he was making a bunch of money at it, maybe he just loved it and that was able to provide for him. Not 100% certain there. But as we said, he had interned at NASA and he has all this resume. I struggle to believe that tutoring was his only job, and I do wonder if perhaps he's actually moonlighting somewhere else or really working somewhere else and the tutoring was a cover. And there's more reason to believe that, as we'll also get into later, based on his apology letter that he writes and sends out. He references an employer and trust being broken. So what's going on there? I don't know, that's speculation, but I don't find it to be an impossibility that he's involved with another company or possibly another portion of the government. One of my favorite and least favorite things about these sorts of investigations, especially early on, is that almost instantly there's a social media blackout. And this case was no different. All of the profiles of Cole Allen that he seemed to even remotely use went dark at exactly the same time, or roughly so, across platforms from YouTube to TikTok to Instagram to Facebook. It seems like everything just shut down like that. Now you can't access his accounts. Some photos have popped up from them that are attributed to them. I don't know the reality though, because those accounts were silenced, and if someone got to them first, who knows? They could also just as easily be faked or AI generated. In any case, the level of cover up with a social media blackout speaks to someone being in control here and not wanting information getting out. So who knows what those accounts held. I was able to find several of them, but even using the Wayback Machine and doing my best to sneak around and find some back doors into this, I wasn't able to get any more information on them other than what was already leaked out. But I think the fact that they all went dark almost at exactly the same time speaks volumes. And as we're gonna get into in that video, if you're familiar with the Thomas Crook situation, this is almost the exact same thing that happened there. His accounts got scrubbed and they tried to sell it as he was a loner and had no presence online, and then slowly they leaked out parts of it that proved that was a lie. So I'm very curious to see how that part of this story evolves as well. There's this video of Cole, we're gonna play it in full here in a second. It's Cole at some sort of inventors conference showing off his emergency brake for wheelchairs, which is actually pretty cool.
College student Cole Allen developed a prototype for a wheelchair emergency brake.
The wheelchair brakes tend to lock the wheels, but don't actually lock the chair to the ground. The idea with this is to prevent it from moving at all.
Recent Aging into the Future conference held by St. Barnabas Senior Services and the Eisner Foundation offered a test run on products that have the potential to enrich the lives of seniors.
14 different tech startups got to present to over 350 people in the hopes of getting their projects into some sort of senior health facility.
This is allegedly Cole Allen Thomas's manifesto, confession, apology letter. It's a weird combination. Take it as you may. I think it reads a lot like Tyler Robinson's supposed messages that he sent that were written by AI to anyone with a brain, and probably not sent by him. And it was sent via email to friends, family, and at least his employer. We're not 100% sure who else. It's quite something. Here it is in full. Hello everyone. I might have shocked quite a few people today. First off, I want to say I'm sorry to those whose trust I've broken. I owe an apology to my parents for taking the interview without clarifying most wanted. I'm sorry to my coworkers and students for claiming a personal emergency. By the time you read this, I might really need the ER, but let's be honest, it's self-inflicted. I apologize to everyone I traveled with, to those who managed my luggage, and to all the innocent people in the hotel who were at risk just by being close to me. And to everyone who has suffered or lost their lives before this, I'm sorry for what you endured before I attempted this, and for those still hurting now, regardless of the outcome. I'm not seeking forgiveness, but I wish there had been another way to address this. Really, I'm very sorry. So why did I do this? Here's the reason. I'm an American citizen. The actions of my representatives affect me. I won't allow pedophiles, rapists, and traitors to stain my integrity anymore. Honestly, I felt unmotivated for a while, but this was my first real chance to act. While we're on the topic, I'll outline the expected rules of engagement, though I admit this isn't in military terms. Targets include administration officials, excluding Mr. Patel. We'll talk about that in a minute. Ranked from highest to lowest priority. Targeting the Secret Service should only happen if absolutely necessary and non-lethal means are preferred. I hope they're well equipped, because shooting center mass can confuse a lot of folks. Hotel security. I'd rather not target them unless they shoot at me. Capitol Police and National Guard, same rules as hotel security. Hotel employees, not applicable. Guests, definitely not a target. I'll use buckshot instead of slugs to limit collateral damage, less chance of penetrating walls. If it comes down to it, I could reach targets through attendees, since most choose to be present when pedophiles and traitors speak, making them accomplices. But I hope it doesn't come to that. Response to objections. Objection 1. As a Christian, you ought to turn the other cheek. That's about personal oppression. I'm not a victim of extreme suffering. Turning away when others are oppressed, that's complicity, not righteousness. Objection 2. Now isn't the right time for this. Rebuttal. It wouldn't be convenient if you were the victim. If you witness someone being harmed, walking away isn't an option, is it? This is my chosen timing and what I believe is a real shot at success. Objection 3. I can't grasp everything you're saying. Rebuttal. Everybody has to start somewhere. Objection 4. As a mixed race person, you shouldn't take this on. Rebuttal. Someone's got to step up. Objection 5. You should give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Rebuttal. The USA is governed by laws, not individuals. If those in power don't follow the law, they shouldn't receive compliance. I want to acknowledge many people because I likely won't talk to them again unless the Secret Service is downright incompetent. Thanks to my family for their support over the last 31 years personally and from our faith community. To my friends, I'm grateful for your ongoing encouragement. To my colleagues, thank you for your professionalism. I appreciate the students for their eagerness to learn. And all the acquaintances, both online and offline, thanks for those moments that turned into meaningful connections and inspiration. Thank you all for your support. Sincerely, Colt Cold Force, Friendly Federal Assassin, Allen. P.S. Okay, enough formalities. What's up with the Secret Service? I expected high-level security everywhere, cameras around every corner, armed guards at every turn. Instead, nothing. Not a hint of security. Not in transit, not in the hotel, nothing at the event either. The moment I walked into the hotel, I sensed their arrogance. I entered with multiple weapons and nobody saw me as a threat. All security is focused outside, more worried about protesters than actual threats. They didn't consider what could happen if someone checked in early. This level of neglect is outrageous, and I sincerely hope we can see competent leadership that can fix these issues soon. Imagine if I were an Iranian agent. I could have brought in heavy weapons without a second thought. That's just absurd. As for how it feels to do something like this, it's awful. I want to cry. I feel nauseous about what I contemplated and for those whose trust was betrayed. Anger comes to me whenever I think of what this administration has done. Take my advice, stay in school, kids. I don't think I've ever read anything that strange in this context, for sure at least. His language suggests intelligence. He's thought through this thing, even through the rebuttals, which was interesting. But then he kind of breaks down and starts switching between different things here. He goes obviously from his original email and then adds in, which was believed to be written within just a minute before the shooting, or the attempted shooting. He goes in to write this conversation that's going on in his head about how bad the security is and how he sensed this from the beginning. I gotta ask what's going on, because he's clearly correct that security was awful and not really paying attention at all, and at the very least too lax and possibly even complicit. That is what stands out to me maybe most in this, beyond the obvious strangeness of this entire thing. I'm curious to see what you guys get out of this though in the comments below. One more thing before we continue, really two things. He brings up the Iranian cell, which has been sold as a line by the FBI a ton. 2, and probably like, come on man, really? You made a carve out for Kash Patel? Are you kidding me? You're there to kill the files and traitors, of which there are a lot in that room if you've looked into the Epstein files, and you leave a carve out for Kash Patel. Whoever wrote this at FBI headquarters, you really had us believe in that? You thought that one was gonna work? Kash Patel, the guy who's defending and keeping us from having all of the Epstein files, who's a huge part of ensuring that we don't get the full story. Come on. You're carving out Kash Patel. Not to mention, if you're approaching this by rank, he's one of the higher ranking people there. So none of that really makes sense to me. Also, if he was able to get through security this easily, why then blow your cover and start sprinting with the gun out right at the end? Because you were also on the wrong floor. makes me wonder how real this whole thing was. I'm also curious to see how many years he's given over this, if he's proven guilty. And I almost forgot this, the media, especially the Fox News type media, is trying to sell and tout this idea that he's some Christian-hating, anti-American guy.
The guy is a sick guy. When you read his manifesto, he hates Christians. That's one thing for sure. He hates Christians, a hatred. And I think his sister or his brother actually was complaining about it. You know, they were even complaining to law enforcement. So he was a very troubled guy.
When a pretty decent portion of this was discussing his faith and how he'd come to this conclusion. So take that as you may, I suppose. And I mentioned Epstein, but it seems like another Epstein Files distraction if I've ever seen one. And now possibly the most incriminating thing of all, and we see this in a lot of these shootings and events like this, are the search results and trends. And to me, it's either the feds are getting dumber or lazier, or in my opinion, likely both, because whatever's going on, it's showing up in the trends. It's showing up in the data that people are curious about this individual and are looking him up prior to these events actually happening. I recorded this a couple days ago, so I made sure that I still could get the information before it was possibly changed. And we have multiple spikes in search results for Cole in the days, months, and years prior to this event taking place. Arguably the most incriminating, although who's really shocked at this point, is Israel. In February and March, he was a trending search topic over there prior to the shooting. And in case you think I'm mistaken, I searched for Cole Thomas Allen, all spelled correctly, followed by C2, all that in quotes. And the point of that is that it will search only for those parameters, not each of them individually. And C2 is the name of the tutoring company he was working for, and the search results spiked, as you can see on screen. But what's really strange is when I did this in America, there were 3 big spikes across the internet over the course of a 20+ year period. The first on the graph is in the time frame of just now what happened in April, and then you also see his name spike like that in June through July of 2020. I don't know why that could be, but it was enough of him being searched to cause an actual noticeable spike on the Google Trends data, which means hundreds of searches. And then finally, there's also a search result peak in 2005, supposedly signaling that something is going on. I have no idea what this means. Could that be some glitch in that 2005 data or 2004 data? Maybe, but I've seen these other glitches in other places in other countries as well when looking up for Cole, and it makes me think that maybe it's not a glitch and something is going on. In any case though, we know these 2020 searches and these most recent searches in the months prior to this shooting, those are legitimate. What that means though is up to you. Honestly, now that I say it out loud, maybe this is more evidence of that time travel connection that's being pushed. I don't know what it is. I would love some clarification if you guys know if these 2004 and 2005 search results are just glitches or if something is going on here, is really being searched. I'm not 100% in the know here, but from what I can tell, these sorts of glitches don't just happen at random. What that is though, is up to you guys. And that for now is all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. This was a quick post, I wanted to get it out. Next week we have a special video planned. I hope you guys are there. And I, once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I can't wait to see each and every one of you guys in the next one.